Origins and foundations, 1869 to 1932. Football began as a college sport in 1869, but by the 1890s, players were quietly being paid. The first documented professional was William Pudge Heffelfinger, who took $500 to play in 1892. Through the 1910s, independent pro teams like the Canton Bulldogs and Massillon Tigers played irregular schedules, often marred by betting scandals and player poaching. In 1920, owners met in Canton, Ohio, to form the American Professional Football Association, APFA. 2 years later, it was renamed the National Football League. Early franchises came and went quickly, with traveling teams like the Duluth Eskimos and Hammond Pros filling gaps, while others, like the Decatur Staleys, soon renamed the Chicago Bears, and Green Bay Packers became permanent fixtures. The New York Giants' arrival in 1925 gave the league its first major market presence. Rules largely mirrored college football. The forward pass was legal but limited, and no hash marks meant the ball could be snapped from near the sideline, making offense conservative. Goalposts were moved to the back of the end zone in 1927, shaping kicking strategy. Equipment was basic: leather helmets, minimal padding, no face masks, and the football itself was rounder, discouraging long passes. Media attention was limited to newspapers, though Red Grange's 1925 barnstorming tour with the Bears proved that star players could draw national crowds. Early controversies shaped governance. The 1925 Pottsville Maroons lost a title for violating territorial rights, and in 1932, weather forced indoor playoff between the Bears and Portsmouth Spartans exposed scheduling flaws. That game directly led to the NFL adopting divisions, a championship game, and new rules the following year, formally separating professional football from its college roots. The formation of modern NFL rules, 1933 to 1945. The 1933 season marked the NFL's first major break from college football. After the improvised 1932 indoor playoff, the league created Eastern and Western divisions and introduced an annual championship game. Key rule changes distinguished the pro game. Hash marks were added to keep the ball away from sidelines. The forward pass could be thrown from anywhere behind the line of scrimmage, and goalposts were returned to the goal line to encourage kicking. These changes boosted scoring and separated NFL football from the slower college style. Franchise stability became a priority. The Portsmouth Spartans moved to Detroit in 1934, becoming the Lions. The Boston Braves shifted to Washington in 1937 as the Redskins. The Cleveland Rams joined in 1937, left during World War II in 1943, then returned after. The league contracted weaker clubs, aiming to concentrate in larger markets. Equipment improved gradually. Harder leather helmets became common, and by 1943 the NFL required players to wear them. Uniform numbering rules standardized rosters and made identification easier for fans and officials. Night football grew in popularity thanks to improved lighting, though it was still rare. The 1934 Sneakers game, when the Giants swapped cleats for basketball shoes on icy turf to upset the Bears, showed how equipment choices could alter outcomes. Media expansion began with the 1934 championship game's national radio broadcast by Graham McNamee, making the NFL coast-to-coast for the first time. In 1939, the first televised NFL game aired locally in New York. Gambling remained a lingering concern from earlier decades, but World War II had the biggest impact. Player shortages forced temporary mergers such as the Steagles, Eagles and Steelers, in 1943. The 1936 player draft was instituted to control costs and maintain competitive balance, establishing the reverse order selection system still used today. Despite instability, the league survived and emerged with clearer rules, stronger franchises, and a showcase championship that laid the groundwork for post-war growth. The post-war boom in television era, 1946 to 1959. After World War II, the NFL stabilized and began expanding its national profile. In 1946, the Cleveland Rams relocated to Los Angeles, becoming the first major professional sports franchise on the West Coast. That same year, the NFL reintegrated by signing Kenny Washington and Woody Strode to the Rams, ending a 12-year color barrier. A major challenge came from the rival All-America Football Conference, AAFC. The AAFC introduced successful franchises like the Cleveland Browns, San Francisco 49ers, and original Baltimore Colts. When the leagues merged in 1950, the Browns and 49ers quickly became NFL powerhouses, proving that rival leagues could force innovation. Rules evolved to encourage passing and scoring. The free substitution rule, solidified by 1950, allowed teams to specialize in offense and defense instead of using two-way players. Sudden death overtime debuted in the 1958 NFL Championship, famously dubbed the greatest game ever played, when the Baltimore Colts beat the New York Giants in the first televised overtime title game. This contest showcased the drama of professional football to a national audience. Plastic helmets began replacing leather in the 1950s. Face masks were added for safety, and mouthguards became standard. These changes made the game faster and more physical. Television transformed the league. The first nationally televised championship came in 1951, and the 1958 title game drew record ratings, cementing football as a broadcast product. The league began negotiating TV rights collectively, a decision that would fuel its future financial dominance. Commissioner Bert Bell centralized scheduling, revenue sharing, and discipline while instituting lifetime bans for gambling. His strong leadership professionalized the league and ended much of the chaos that plagued earlier decades. And in 1959, Texan oilman Lamar Hunt's attempt to buy an NFL team was blocked, leading him to form the American Football League, AFL. This set the stage for the most important rivalry in professional football history, the AFL Challenge and Super Bowl era, 1960 to 1970. In 1960, the upstart American Football League began play with 8 franchises, directly competing with the NFL. The AFL promoted wide-open passing offenses, colorful team identities, and heavy use of television to reach fans. Innovations like names on jerseys, official league-wide TV contracts, and a looser style of play forced the NFL to adapt. The NFL responded with expansion of its own. The Dallas Cowboys joined in 1960, the Minnesota Vikings in 1961, and the Atlanta Falcons in 1966. Meanwhile, the AFL added teams in Miami, Denver, and other growing markets. The two leagues battled for players, driving salaries higher and creating bidding wars for college stars. The AFL's emphasis on passing popularized the longer, narrower football shape designed for spirals, which the NFL later adopted. Protective equipment improved as plastic helmets became mandatory and face masks were standardized. The rivalry led to the 1966 merger agreement. The leagues would maintain separate schedules but play a common championship. The Super Bowl, first held in January 1967. Initially mocked, the game quickly grew in stature after the AFL's New York Jets upset the NFL's Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III, proving the AFL's legitimacy. Media exposure soared as both leagues signed national television deals. The NFL partnered with CBS while the AFL's deal with NBC gave it financial stability and national reach. The increasing ratings made football a staple of American households. The modernization era, 1970 to 1979. The 1970 merger unified the NFL and AFL into one league with 2 conferences, the NFC and AFC. The season expanded to 26 teams and included a structured playoff system leading to the Super Bowl, which quickly became the league's centerpiece. Monday Night Football debuted the same year on ABC, turning games into primetime entertainment and boosting the NFL's cultural presence. Rule changes emphasized safety and offense. In 1974, goalposts were moved back to the end line, reducing field goal dominance. Kickoffs were pushed from the 40-yard line to the 35 to encourage returns. Overtime for regular season games was added in 1974, eliminating tie-heavy results. In 1978, rules restricting defensive contact with receivers beyond 5 yards and liberalizing pass blocking transformed the passing game, paving the way for higher-scoring offenses. Equipment advanced with sturdier plastic helmets, improved face masks, and better padding. These changes, along with growing awareness of player injuries, began shifting the game towards speed and physical durability. Team identity also evolved. The Baltimore Colts and Cleveland Browns moved to the newly formed AFC to balance conferences, and several franchises introduced modern branding. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys, and Miami Dolphins became dominant dynasties, with iconic players and styles defining the decade. The NFL signed lucrative television contracts, and the 1977 blackout rule ensured sold-out home games were televised locally, further driving fan engagement. By 1979, the NFL had surpassed baseball in TV ratings, becoming America's most-watched sport with unified structure, explosive passing rules, and national television dominance, with the Super Bowl becoming an American tradition. The NFL had established its modern structure, offensive-friendly rules, and mass media dominance, laying the groundwork for the explosive growth of the 1980s. The expansion and scandal era, 1980 to 1989. The 1980s cemented the NFL as America's most popular sport, while also exposing labor conflicts and scandals. The league grew to 28 teams, adding the Seattle Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1976, both of which stabilized during the 1980s. The Raiders moved from Oakland to Los Angeles in 1982, testing the league's stance on franchise relocations. Television drove unprecedented popularity. CBS, NBC, and ABC all carried games, while ESPN began airing NFL highlights on SportsCenter. The Super Bowl became the most watched annual event in the U.S., blending sport and entertainment. On the field, rule changes encouraged offense. In 1982, defensive contact rules were enforced more tightly, and by 1985, kickoffs were moved from the 35-yard line to the 30 to increase returns. Passing flourished, highlighted by stars like Joe Montana and Dan Marino. Equipment continued to improve with lighter pads and better helmet designs, though concussion awareness remained minimal. Labor disputes defined the decade. A 57-day strike in 1982 shortened the season to 9 games and introduced a special 16-team playoff tournament. In 1987, another strike led to replacement players filling rosters for 3 weeks, exposing tensions between ownership and the NFL Players Association. Scandals and challenges also shaped the league. The USFL launched in 1983 as a spring league and lured top talent with big contracts. Though it folded in 1986, its existence forced the NFL to raise rookie salaries and expand into new markets. Off the field, cocaine abuse and gambling concerns surfaced among players, leading to stricter league policies. By the decade's end, the NFL had expanded its audience, strengthened its broadcast power, and established itself as the nation's dominant sport despite labor strife and competition. The global growth and free agency era, 1990 to 1999. The 1990s pushed the NFL into a global brand while reshaping player movement and league structure. The league expanded from 28 to 31 teams. The Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars joined in 1995, and several teams relocated. The Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore to become the Ravens in 1996, and the Browns were promised reinstatement, which came in 1999. Both the Rams and Raiders left Los Angeles in 1995, and the Houston Oilers relocated to Tennessee in 1997, eventually becoming the Titans. On the field, the Dallas Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls, becoming America's team, while John Elway's Broncos closed the decade with back-to-back championships, 1997 to 1998. Free agency transformed the game. After years of restrictive player movement, the 1993 collective bargaining agreement introduced true free agency paired with a salary cap. This gave players more control over contracts while ensuring competitive balance among teams. The result was greater parity and shifting team rosters, a major departure from dynasty-driven decades prior. Rules continued to favor passing and more action. The in-the-grasp quarterback protection rule appeared in 1995, and stricter enforcement of defensive contact boosted offense. The two-point conversion was introduced in 1994, and kickoff adjustments were made to create more returns. Additionally, the playoffs expanded to 12 teams in 1990, adding wild-card drama and television inventory. Equipment safety also advanced with improved helmet padding and standardized face masks, though concussions were still under-addressed. Fox shocked the industry by outbidding CBS for NFC broadcast rights in 1994, adding younger, flashier coverage that boosted ratings. ESPN expanded its reach with Sunday Night Football, and international games were staged in London and Mexico City to build a global fanbase. Scandals and controversies included the 1994 salary cap violations by the San Francisco 49ers and Denver Broncos, which led to heavy fines. The league also battled criticism over player safety as awareness of concussions began growing. The 1990s locked in the NFL's status as America's most powerful sports league. It was financially dominant, broadcast globally, and structurally modern with free agency, a salary cap, and new franchises. The expansion and technology era, 2000 to 2009. The 2000s began with the NFL at 31 teams, but expansion to 32 came in 2002 with the Houston Texans. That same year, the league realigned into 8 divisions of 4 teams each, creating the structure still in place today. Parity grew under the salary cap system, yet dynasties like the New England Patriots emerged, winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Technology changed officiating, the fan experience, and team operations. Instant replay returned permanently in 1999 and was refined throughout the decade, giving referees video assistance on key plays. The coach's challenge system became a standard feature. Helmet radios for quarterbacks and defensive captains were implemented in 2008, and digital scoreboards, high-definition broadcasts, and the NFL's growing online presence brought fans closer to the game than ever before. Rule changes emphasized player protection and offense, including banning hits with the helmet crown, outlawing horse collar tackles, and restricting defensive contact with receivers beyond 5 yards. Kickoff returns were adjusted, and quarterbacks received greater protection from late hits. Equipment standards also improved, with more advanced helmet testing and mandatory mouthguards. In 2007, the New England Patriots' Spygate incident, illegally videotaping opponents' signals, led to heavy fines and the loss of a draft pick. In 2009, revelations of head trauma among retired players sparked lawsuits and public concern, laying the foundation for the concussion crisis that would dominate the next decade. Media and global reach continued to expand. The NFL Network launched in 2003, Sunday Night Football moved to NBC in 2006, becoming the league's marquee broadcast. NFL Europe folded in 2007, but international regular season games in London began in 2007, marking a shift toward global strategy. By the end of the 2000s, the NFL had modernized its structure, embraced new technology, and confronted scandals that foreshadowed even larger controversies ahead. The safety and media power era, 2010 to 2019. The 2010s were defined by player safety reforms and unprecedented media dominance. The decade opened with the NFL confronting lawsuits from thousands of former players over concussions and CTE, leading to a landmark 2013 settlement. This fueled sweeping rule changes, helmet-to-helmet hits were penalized, kickoffs were moved up to reduce returns, and defenseless receiver protections expanded. By mid-decade, the league was emphasizing player safety as a central priority. Offense continued to flourish. In 2011, rules limited defensive contact with receivers even more strictly, and quarterbacks were heavily shielded from late or low hits. Passing numbers surged, with multiple QBs surpassing 5,000-yard seasons, reshaping offensive records. Franchise movement reshaped geography. The Rams returned to Los Angeles in 2016, followed by the Chargers in 2017, creating 2 LA teams. The Oakland Raiders announced a move to Las Vegas, completed in 2020. These shifts reflected the league's focus on new stadium deals and lucrative markets. Scandals repeatedly rocked the NFL. The 2011 Bountygate scandal exposed the New Orleans Saints system of paying players for injuring opponents. In 2015, Deflategate embroiled Tom Brady and the Patriots in controversy over underinflated footballs, leading to suspensions and national debate. Domestic violence cases, most notably involving Ray Rice in 2014, brought criticism of the league's disciplinary policies. Media power peaked. NFL games dominated television ratings, with Sunday Night Football becoming the most-watched U.S. program for nearly a decade. Streaming partnerships with Twitter, Amazon, and Yahoo introduced digital broadcasts. Fantasy football and the rise of daily fantasy platforms like DraftKings deepened fan engagement. The NFL was wealthier and more globally visible than ever, but it was also under pressure to balance entertainment, safety, and credibility amid constant scrutiny. The pandemic and modern transformation era, 2020 to present. The 2020s began with the COVID-19 pandemic disrupting the NFL. Stadiums were emptied or limited, schedules were reshuffled, and teams operated under strict testing protocols. Despite challenges, the league completed the 2020 season, demonstrating its logistical power. That year also introduced a new collective bargaining agreement, expanding the regular season from 16 to 17 games starting in 2021. Safety and technology remained central. Concussion protocols were strengthened, Guardian helmet caps were tested in practices, and turf quality became a major debate. Replay technology expanded, and digital tablets on sidelines became standard coaching tools. Rules continued to favor offense, with increased protection for quarterbacks and defenseless players. Kickoff adjustments further reduced high-speed collisions. Franchise shifts reshaped the map. The Raiders officially relocated to Las Vegas in 2020, opening Allegiant Stadium. Washington dropped its Redskins name in 2020, temporarily becoming the Washington Football Team, before adopting Commanders in 2022. The league also began staging multiple annual games in London, Germany, and Mexico City, pushing toward permanent international expansion. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs emerged as the dominant force with multiple Super Bowl appearances, while Tom Brady extended his career with Tampa Bay's 2020 championship before retiring after 2022. Scandals reflected modern issues. The John Gruden email controversy in 2021 led to his resignation. The investigation into workplace misconduct at Washington brought heavy fines and ownership scrutiny. The 2022 Deshaun Watson suspension over sexual misconduct allegations highlighted the league's handling of player discipline. Media shifted to streaming dominance. Amazon Prime Video took over Thursday Night Football in 2022, marking the NFL's first full-season streaming partnership, and the NFL launched their NFL Plus direct-to-consumer service. Gambling integration grew after legalization in many states, with sportsbook ads and betting data embedded in broadcasts. Technology reached new levels, with next-gen stats tracking chips in footballs and shoulder pads, producing detailed speed and separation data, and broadcasts began integrating augmented reality graphics and real-time data overlays. The NFL today is larger and more profitable than ever, balancing global expansion, player safety, and new technology, while continuing to navigate controversies that shape its public image. If you want to hear about more NFL drama and sports eras, subscribe to follow along.